Right, good afternoon once again. Hopefully this talk is going to link in very nicely, follow on very nicely from what we've just been hearing, because I'm going to be talking a little bit about reviewing and reflection on and in practice. Can you all hear me okay there? This is kind of... So, reflecting on and in action, certainly with a view to evolving and improving practice, is very much a fundamental part of the reviewing process. It demands critical reflection, benefits from facilitation, and crucially requires people revisit their experiences in some way, and that word revisit is quite important. Still photography and video feedback are widely used in coaching. You'll probably can all imagine, having watched the Olympics this summer, just how much of that has probably gone on for some of the teams out there. And it provides valuable opportunities for practices to be viewed, reviewed, and studied. In my own case, we've been using it within the Moroccan mountain tourism industry set up to support muleteering teams as they transition from working mules in traditional bits to working them in head collars. And this is one of the gaps I was referring to earlier in the first talk that is being filled in this way. So the reviewing process, just to explain it very quickly, and for those of you who want more information on this, I can refer you to a website that Roger Greenaway runs. The reviewing process involves exploring the multiple dimensions of experience as represented here by the diamond, and acknowledging the felt experience, that is to say, the all too easily ignored emotional sides to experience. So these are the two red suits to our right there. Digging with the spade then allows meaning, assumptions and other aspects of the experience to be exposed and discussed. And finally, this process allows new ideas and proposals to emerge and be further developed, prepared for experimentation. The experience is selected... Oops, I think we've gone a bit... Okay, yeah, that's good. The experiences selected for study should be relevant, real, simple, and interesting. Such experiences are likely to invite and stimulate curiosity and discussion, and it's this that will draw participants into a creative and critical journey, opening the doorway to transformative change. In this case, a moment has been captured on film. You can probably imagine what's going on here. One of the mules has reacted to something and has turned and run, more or less charged, towards and then through the group. And the responses of the muleteers, the instinctive responses of these animal owners, has been captured. It's an unpredicted, startling situation. And we've actually captured it there for subsequent reviewing. It's possible to ask those involved what's happened, to ask them what happens next. Anticipation is very useful in reviewing. It's also possible to then explore their emotions and indeed those they attribute to the mule. This in turn opens the possibility of exploring whether their reading of the situation was valid and appropriate and whether things could have been done differently. So proposals for new things to try out can then actually emerge. In this case, this is about 3 seconds later, I think, it emerges that several members of the team are fearful of the mule, fearful indeed of their own mules when other aspects of their behaviour is reviewed. And this is reflected in their decision, on one hand, to reach for a stick, and the gentleman closest to us had picked up a handful of stones to counter the flight of the mule. When exploring the reasons for the flight of the mule, they attribute this to her wanting to return back uphill in order to reach the village in which her previous owner still lives, and in which she spent a lot of time. And they're struggling to see that fundamentally she's afraid and that their behaviour is actually making this worse. Drawing attention to their feelings, things that are rarely actually expressed and shared, and the underlying beliefs and assumptions held by them and indeed by the local communities, provides an opportunity for these to be explored discussed and where appropriate challenged. Now it turns out through work with these teams of muleteers who historically were agro-pastoralists, that they've simply adapted their shepherding practices to mules, so they largely choose to drive them rather than lead them, and positive reinforcement is non-existent. It's rarely, if ever, used. Relationships are characterized by fear, misunderstanding, and distrust, and trust and understanding tend to be pretty rare. The reviewing process thus allows these fear-based relationships to actually be exposed and discussed and explored in order for them then to actually be transcended. This is, I think we've skipped 2 there, have we? Yes. This is now what is happening in an initiative established by the Expedition Providers Association, which is a UK organisation that bridges the expeditions industry. And they've actually chosen to promote the use of head collars and are seeking to eliminate the traditional bit from their trekking teams. Requirements to work in this way are further backed by the provision and promotion of training courses, which have been funded by the Donkey Sanctuary. And it is during these training courses that video feedback is provided to help the muleteers develop their practices. In essence, training courses provide a space for listening, across cultures and across species, and this then leads to the possibility for the co-creation of a different kind of relationship and means of communication. So the importance of these learning opportunities, I don't think it can be underestimated. They provide what in Theory U is described as a holding space for new ideas and best practice to be developed. And the impetus and opportunity for change essentially is then provided as a result of this, and efforts can then be made to understand and address any barriers to greater awareness and change. So in conclusion, reviewing and video feedback can be deployed as part of a program to develop and deliver greater awareness of mule welfare-friendly practices and their benefits. And the creation of these holding spaces, these safe holding spaces in which such learning can be fostered with a view to delivering these welfare improvements is therefore essential. The need for training programs for muleteers within the industry, training programs that are going to sustain change in the long term, is now being recognised within the industry as a key priority. And just last week, we've actually drafted a technical document that's going before their technical committee in the next few days. So this is something that is very current and hopefully will continue to deliver change. Thank you very much.